Hey everyone, this is Dave. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. Today I'll be going over my own portfolio over the past couple weeks, the trades I've made, what I'm thinking about doing going forward, what's working, what's not working. And I like to do this every couple weeks just to keep you guys in the loop and, share ideas. Often I'll even get great trade ideas from the comments down below these videos. So do be sure to let me know down there what you're thinking about doing, and we can all work together to grow our portfolios. As usual, I'll be talking about Rocket Lab, Tesla, HIMS, some of my other big positions, and my overall portfolio performance. Before we dive into that, though, please do consider hitting that subscribe button if you're new here and have not yet subscribed. Every new subscriber is so helpful for the channel, and thank you, as always, to my channel members for help keeping the channel going. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive into this week's investing updates. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the overall portfolio because if you've watched the channel for a while, it's only been a couple weeks since my last one of these and not a ton will have changed. But yes, on a one-year basis, I am up 131%. Thank you very much to Rocket Lab as well as a few other big movers. Still not as high as I was a little while ago, but completely happy with where I am right now. On a year-to-date basis, actually, now this one surprised me. We're in June now, and on a year-to-date basis, I am actually down a little bit. So I guess a ton of my gains happened earlier on in the year, and yeah, year-to-date, we're still flat, but overall, big picture looking good. And then 3 months, again, great. So extreme volatility obviously happening in the portfolio, as when you zoom into these different sections, you get vastly different results, but great 3 months nonetheless for the portfolio, driven in large part to Rocket Lab's recent run, which has been continuing today and we will be getting to shortly. 1 month, yeah, pretty flat. So that is how the overall portfolio has been going. Do let me know how your portfolio has performed. Always interested to compare notes and see what's working out there for you guys and what isn't working, and, learn from each other. Talking about the overall markets now, though, I am starting to feel a little bit uneasy with where we are just in terms of being a bit high. And I do feel like there's a lot of euphoria out there, a lot of people feeling invincible and like things only go up. Historically, S&P 500 price to earnings ratio, compared to those levels, we are a bit high right now, around 28. We have seen it go higher, obviously, but that was followed by a big crash. But nonetheless, it is fairly elevated right now compared to the levels over the past, 10 years. This is quite high. So feeling a little bit uncomfortable with where we are now in the overall markets. And as you know, generally when we have a market downturn, that pulls down all the companies, whether they're performing well or not. So something to keep an eye on. I don't try to time the macro markets. There's just too much going on. You could have a tweet from the president. You could have bombing Iran randomly happening. You never know what's going to happen. So I think for me, trying to time the overall markets is a bit of a difficult task, and I just like to buy good companies and hold them throughout, and that's what I'll continue to do. But as I said, feeling a little bit uncomfortable about the overall markets. Now, counterpoint to that, we should have rate cuts coming, I would expect, in the back half of the year. And that can help the markets, but that could also be partly priced in at this point because a lot of people do think that it is coming. Let's start talking about my individual stocks as well as the trades I've made over the past few weeks. And for that, we are going to hop over to today's video sponsor, which is Forecaster.biz. First of all, thank you to Forecaster for sponsoring this video, and if you guys are interested in checking it out, there is a coupon code DAVEG in the description down below as well. Okay, so talking about HIMS stock, obviously you can see from the chart here, incredible volatility. I bought it originally back around 30-ish. I think it was about here. There was a great run up, crash, great run up again, and even today we're getting a bit of a crash on the big news that Novo Nordisk's Wegovy will no longer be sold via HIMS, and there seems to have been a bit of a falling out between the two companies. The trade that I did make just the other day, actually, is that I sold covered calls on my HIMS shares because I was thinking, you can see here, it was looking a little peaky to me. And to me, HIMS is an amazing buy at around 35. Below 35 is great. Once you get to 60, I'm starting to get a little feeling like it's fully priced in. So what I did is 1 month out, I'm going to pop up the trade on the screen, screenshot from my phone here. I sold covered calls at a strike price of $80 per share. So what that means is if the price of HIMS is, let's call it 90 at that date of expiry, I have to sell it for 80, which would obviously be bad for me. But if it doesn't go above 80, I just get to keep all the money, which is $1.47 times 100 per each contract, and there's 3 contracts. So that cash comes out to about 441 bucks. Not massive numbers of dollars, especially when you talk about how large my portfolio is getting these days. Not trying to brag or anything. It's just kind of a fact that it's not as impactful, but I'm always looking for opportunities to make a little bit of change and, increase the performance of the portfolio. So I did that actually before this news broke, got a little lucky on the timing. Stock absolutely has crashed now. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more on the chart to maybe a 1-month chart. You can see this crash from $64 per share all the way down to 47 on this news. So looking highly unlikely like those shares will be called away from me. It'll turn out to be a beneficial trade. I'll keep my shares most likely, and I'll make 450 bucks. Can't complain about that. Obviously, I wouldn't have wanted my stock to crash, but I still do like the overall company. Zooming back out, if you look at HIMS, I do always like to see this chart with the net income correlated to the stock price. It gives you a good idea of how expensive the stock is getting compared to net income. Obviously, this only works on stocks that are, cash flow positive, so you can't really look at this on, say, a Rocket Lab. But clearly here, if you look at the correlation between net income and stock price, it was getting expensive in that the stock price was peaking above the net income, whereas if you see the net income way above where the stock price is currently at, then maybe there's a bit of a deal to be had here, right? Obviously, the stock, I like it because the net income is growing extremely rapidly. So if we do get a crash down to 35 or below, and I'll be keeping my eye on this one in case we do get that crash, I'll be very interested in potentially adding more shares, potentially buying even a call option, trying to take advantage of the massive volatility on this stock. So that's my thoughts around HIMS right now. I'm still holding my shares. I expect the call to expire worthless, and if we do continue to drop to say 35, I'm looking for that opportunity. Next up, let's head over to Tesla. So Tesla is obviously very controversial stock, and that's probably putting it lightly. I know a lot of you guys out there have been telling me sell this thing, and I have been feeling a lot less bullish on the company of late, but I still do have some shares. Obviously, it's not my biggest position anymore, which is Rocket Lab by far, and we're going to get to Rocket Lab in a little bit. But Tesla, I also sold some covered calls on my shares about a month out, I think, and for this, I got $638 per share times 100 per contract with 2 contracts. So I'm receiving about $1,276. And I think that's pretty good cash, right? So it may not seem like a lot given the value of those shares, but if you think about the fact that this is only outstanding for 1 month, and then if you do the math on a percentage basis, how much this is paying you, if you annualize it by 12, it's actually a pretty solid return. Now, obviously, the stock could run up past my strike of 400, and we do have that big robotaxi event that just happened, and today the stock is up on the robotaxi news, presumably. My thesis or thought process on this short-term trade is that yes, I still believe in Tesla's robotaxi ambitions long term, and that's the main reason why I still hold the stock along with Optimus. Certainly not for the vehicle sales, which have kind of been declining lately and not been very impressive, frankly. But I think it'll take time to play out. We're still in a small area of Austin. Generally, when Tesla holds these events, there's a lot of sell the news, buy the rumor type thing. So I thought we'd have a little softness after the robotaxi. We'll see if in 29 days or so, this thing hits $400 per share. Frankly, if it does hit 400 plus and I'm forced to sell it for 400, I will have made a ton of money on those shares because my cost basis is, way below that, probably below 200. I think I'll have to double check on that, but certainly I will have made a lot of money. And with a volatile stock like this, if you really do believe in it, there will probably be future opportunities to get back in. So that's hopefully $1,200 I'll make on the covered call from Tesla, trying to, again, make whatever little extra returns I can. So between Tesla and HIMS, we're talking, not quite $2,000 US in a month, but, getting towards that level. Now, I did have Tesla covered calls outstanding still for another week, and I'll pop those up on the screen now. Frankly, those were worth practically nothing, and it was almost certain that they would expire worthless. So at the time when I bought them back, they're only worth 12 cents. And my thought process on that was, well, if I go out a month, I can get the 638 per share. And, if I hold this for another 5 trading days, I'm only getting 12 cents per share. So if you think about it as say per day that the option is outstanding, I'm barely getting paid anything by that old covered call. I'd kind of sucked most of the juice out of it, if you will. I made $1,300 on that one as well. So I bought it back per pennies, and I think it pays me better to, have the call going out another 3 extra weeks and make the extra money. So that's what I did on that one. Quite happy with that covered call. Paid me for Tesla, so doing pretty well on that front. Now, this is an interesting one. I did make a trade around the recent IPO Voyager Space. I made a video about this company, the newest space company on the block, if you will, working on a big commercial space station, not expected to fly until, I believe, 2029 at the earliest, most likely much later. So it's an interesting company, and I certainly hope they succeed. I looked at the valuation and thought it was way too high, and the trend I see with these IPOs is they go way up when they first IPO, and then they come back to earth over the next 6 months. So hopefully I don't regret this, because this is a very high-risk trade, but I did actually short Voyager Space. Not that I wish the company any ill will, but I think the valuation just went too high too fast after the IPO. And I look to maybe get out of this within 6 months. Certainly not something I want to hold this short long term. And if you're not familiar with shorts, basically I sold shares that I don't own, and I'll have to buy those shares back at some point, hopefully for a cheaper cost than I sold for. Now, the downside of this, well, there's a couple downsides, but one of the downsides is that I have to pay borrowing fees in order to sell these shares that I don't own for that high price, and then keep paying those borrowing fees until I'm able to close out the trade by buying back the shares to even things out. It has gone down, as you can see. I think let's see, where did I sell that? Yeah, so I sold it for about $48, I believe, per share, somewhere around here. So far, so good in that it's lower than 48, and I look to get out, maybe $20 a share. I think it's reasonable for the stock to fall around 20 if you talk about valuation. But I don't want to be stuck in this forever, so I'm giving myself maybe 6 months to get in and get out of this little trade, mostly for fun. I always thought it'd be interesting to follow for the channel and see what happens when we take the other side of one of these trades. So that is Voyager, and that is my plan. Hopefully well, hopefully for me, it does drop below 30, which I think is starting to get a little bit more reasonable. I could certainly see it dropping below 20. By the way, a little while ago, I think I might have caught this one on my last investing updates, but just in case I didn't, I also decided to sell out of my Planet shares. Just got tired of waiting on that company to deliver revenue growth and deliver on the thesis that they kind of promised when they went public. I really loved the vision of what they were trying to do. I thought it was very cool. I thought the tech was very cool. The revenue growth has not been there, unfortunately. Let's head back to Forecaster and just take a quick look at Planet Labs. They were kind of forecasting massive growth when they went public, and it's been quite modest. So again, the net income line starting to look like it's trending in the right direction, but the growth is just too slow for me. And so for that reason, I am out. I did end up making a bit of money on it because I bought it around $4 per share. So somewhere like around here. Not massive dollars, but, I made a bit of money and I'm out of that one. No longer have the confidence in the management and the execution and the growth. So that's another one I'm out of. And now let's talk Rocket Lab because I always like talking about it. It's my biggest position in the portfolio. You can see on net income, obviously it's looking expensive right now. I'm going to kind of hide that because I think we're kind of really trading on momentum, and holy crap, what momentum we're having right now. Congratulations to all the shareholders. Looks like we're at new highs. Extremely exciting. Over the past 5 years, we're talking 233%, but it's even better than that. If you bought 3 years ago, you're at 692%, or 1 year ago, you're at 572%. So this is kind of frustrating me, guys. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to make a big move on Rocket Lab based on some things that I thought were upcoming. And let me know if you've been here, because I'm sure every trader or investor has been here at some point where a stock, you want to do something, you haven't pulled the trigger quite yet, and it runs away from you before you make your move. So I was really hoping, strangely enough, even though it's my largest position, that it would drop back to sub $25 so I could buy some call options on it. And it hasn't happened. It's run away from me. So it's hard to be frustrated when it's your biggest position and it's worth a lot more than it used to be. But I wanted to buy more and it hasn't happened, unfortunately. So I'm looking for this one to, it looks very strong, like the stock right now, from a technical point of view. But I would love to see it drop back to 25, 20, and maybe buy some calls based on not only the strength the stock has, the momentum it has. And by the way, Peter Beck announced recently he's selling some shares, the CEO, which you'll probably see under the insider sales. Looks like those haven't hit the market yet, but he did file the form for it. So I thought that might also drag down the stock a little bit. Really hasn't had much of an impact at all. So very strong, seems to be a really hot stock right now. And if it does drop to 25 or below, I might look at buying some of those semi-long-term call options based on a few contracts that I think are going to happen. I've talked about previously. I think there's a lot happening behind the scenes right now as well. And of course, we're looking at Neutron's first launch. Could be a very big catalyst, hopefully by the end of the year. But if not, I would say within Q1 next year. Certainly that's my hope. So the time frame I was thinking of for those call options on Rocket Lab was going out to at least mid next year to give myself some extra time. But unfortunately, I'm sure you guys have been there. It's just run away from me too fast, and so frustrating. And the frustrating thing is, like, it wasn't too late, You often feel like, okay, it's too late now to execute a trade, and it's not. So back when we were, say, 25 and it had gone from like 15 to 25, I was thinking to myself, oh man, okay, it's too late for this trade. Let's wait and see what happens. And then sure enough, it wasn't too late because it continues to run. So one of my biggest mistakes I've made in investing since I started is thinking it's too late when it's not too late. So I hope I'm not making that same mistake right now by waiting for a better price to execute these trades. But that's where we are on Rocket Lab. You know, on the plus side, I have 14,500 shares, right? So I can't complain that much. I mean, this is, you know, it's a great problem to have, but that is what it is. So let me know if you guys are making any trades on Rocket Lab, how you feel about the stock at these levels. Do you think it's overpriced, underpriced? What catalysts are you thinking about going forward? Always interested to hear. When we're talking, you know, overbought or oversold, it is looking like it's getting on the hotter end of things. Not quite hitting the red line like it did, say, back in November, but starting to get there on like an RSI or market mood meter basis. So that's something to keep in mind as well, and something I do tend to check before I make these trades. So that's what I've mostly been up to lately. Few covered calls, mostly just holding my stocks long-term. Portfolios doing very well on a 1 year, 5 year, basically every basis at this point. So thank you to Rocket Lab and Redwire and a few others for that. Tesla as well, really, if you zoom out long-term. Let me know what you guys are doing, what you think about any of the trades I've been making, and what you're thinking about. If you're interested in checking out Forecaster, once again, there is a link in the description with a coupon code. Thank you so much to Forecaster for the sponsorship. And once again, if you're not subscribed, please consider doing that. It is so helpful to the channel. I'll be back soon with the next video. I hope you guys have a great week. See you next time. Bye for now.